so here we are filming it once a year because
I don't like taking videos.
Also, he has a great personality, but when the camera comes on, it's all gone.
Little disclaimer, clearly since we're so new at marriage as well, this isn't meant to be kind of like this big grandiose advice you need to live your life by.
You need to live your life by.
Yeah, you need to live your life by. We're still learning as we go as well.
We're going to learn until we die.
Yeah, this is just, hey, you're in your first year of marriage or you're about to be married. These are some things to watch out for, and these are some things you can learn early on to make your first year a little smoother.
You can go ahead and get started.
All right. First thing is, it's important to remember that we're not just sharing a life together now. Like, we're not individuals. And that's kind of like the marriage that the world pushes onto you, the viewpoint that the world wants you to adopt into your married life. But I think it's very important to realize that, let me just restart from the Mark chapter 10 part.
Okay. And go.
All right. Mark chapter 10 says that a man's going to leave his father and his mother, and he's going to hold fast to his wife, and the two are going to become one flesh. And so we're no longer individuals. We're no longer John and Rebecca.
It's Rebecca.
We're John Becca. We're John Becca Shong.
Wait, surely there's a better name than John Becca.
So.
Ron.
No. John Becca Song. John Becca Shong. John Becca Song Hong. When you approach marriage with the idea that you're in it for the long haul, like you're in it to win it with each other. That's a weird way of saying that.
When you approach, it for life.
Yeah, when you approach marriage as a binding commitment, as like no way out.
You use so many different metaphors.
I'm trying to find the right one. Because we can just use the same one, right?
I think you need 50 more metaphors.
No, this is the one. This is the one right here. If you approach marriage as a lifelong commitment,
yeah,
then all those petty problems and those tiny arguments become so insignificant and minute to all the good that comes with marriage. And I think if you focus your problems, it's going to amplify them. But at the same time, if you focus on the love that you have for each other and the love that God has for you and for her, those problems become so small that you don't even notice them anymore.
Yeah. Oh, another thing I want to add, what you learn from marriage is you might have married friends around you and you might be comparing how they do things and their timing and their timeline of what they're doing and all that kind of stuff. And it's really easy to be like, but we're not doing that. Or maybe we should do that. And honestly, you guys are your own couple. And so you don't need to look at other married couples and try to copy what they're doing. You guys are your own couple. You have your own timing of when you want your kids, of when you're going to get a house, or maybe you're not even going to get a house, and all these kind of things. And I think that's really fun. And just try not to compare your marriage with other people's marriage and how they do things.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah. 2 Corinthians 10:12 says, "Not that we dare to classify or compare ourselves with some of those who are commending themselves, but when they measure themselves by one another and compare themselves with one another, they are without understanding." So when you compare yourselves with other couples and you start thinking, hey, they're doing something that we're not doing, and you don't know the story behind it or you don't know the reasoning behind it, then you're going to fall into a trap of discontentment.
Yeah.
You're going to say, we need to be doing this. We need to be doing what they're doing because they look like a happy couple in the few 30 minutes that we see them once a week.
Or all their Instagram photos.
Another big thing that we had to just kind of figure out was how to compromise. There's times when you know that you are right. Like, you know from the bottom of your heart that this is the correct way to do something or this is the correct decision. But you also have to take into account that it's going to be the same for them as well. And so you're both going to think you're right a lot of times, and you're both going to think that's the right decision. And that's why you have to be able to talk your way through things and just come to an understanding sometimes. Point number 3, the goal hasn't changed. Like, our ultimate goal has not changed at all. The only difference is we have a teammate.
Yeah.
And so before marriage, a lot of people are kind of like, they're on fire for Christ. They're like, hey, I'm going to do his great works. I'm going to go to the world and spread the word, But after marriage, they're like, oh, no, I have a family now. I have kids now.
Oh, yeah.
All of that has to take a back step because this is my priority.
Yes.
But in fact, it's the opposite.
Yes.
Because marriage isn't two people looking towards each other. It's two people looking towards the same goal. And when they walk together, when they encourage each other, when they motivate each other, when they comfort each other. And that's when God can truly start to work in families and around families as well. Yeah. That's it. All right. Point number 4. Point number 4 is to listen to what they're saying, not what you want them to say. Do you want me to reshoot that?
No.
You're all over the place there. Point number 4 is to listen to what they say, not rudely interrupt them while they're talking to the camera.
Wow, we're talking to a camera. We need to give the camera.
Get off of me. Don't touch me. Point number 4 is listen to what they're saying, not what you want them to say. This is especially a challenge for me because I grew up a little spoiled. I'm a bit of a mama's boy.
Oh yeah, he is.
Not that much. If you say it with that intonation, it makes it sound weird. I'm very accustomed to kind of like being able to convince people that, you know, my way is the right way. And I've always kind of dominated conversations as well.
Oh yeah, he's the gym. What's that club? That tea club?
Oh my god.
What's it called?
It's called the Finer Things Club.
He's not in the Finer
And
Things
it's the
Club
most exclusive club in the office.
He dominates conversations.
In a conversation, when the other person's talking, I would be trying to formulate what to say next while they were talking. And so there wasn't a whole lot of listening going on. I think it's, in marriage, probably communication is a very, very
really
key
is important.
aspect.
It really is.
Yeah. But when you start to listen, you start to understand how they think, why they think that. I hate to admit it, but I actually learned a lot this past year of marriage from her about how to handle things, about how to do things, about personal boundaries that she hasn't picked up on yet.
We don't have boundaries.
To
That
just
sounds
listen.
weird. Sorry, I'm not listening while you're saying this.
Yes, evidently.
Yes, listen to each other. We are. It's just...
And you don't want to get into like preconceived notions, you know? You don't want them to be like, you don't want to go into a conversation assuming that they're going to answer one way. Because what ends up happening is like every little thing that they say that kind of agrees with your point, you only hear those selectively, and then later on you find out that's not what she meant at all. And so I think it's very important to just realize, hey, they're going to have a different opinion than you sometimes, and that's okay.
Sometimes it's not okay.
Point number 5.
You gotta fight it out. Just kidding.
We box. Solve disputes. Number 5.
Number 5.
God's roles for husband and wife. It's very important that we keep those as to the best of our ability, because when we do, things tend to get a little more smoother, a little more fluid, and just overall better, I think. And so during this past year, there were points both when I wasn't and was fulfilling my role as the spiritual leader of the household. And there are very, very big differences, both in just our relationship with each other and with God when I was doing my job as opposed to when I wasn't.
Anything else
That's it. That's my final point.
Okay.
And we're done.
Wait, hold on.
We'll see you guys next year.
Wait. Okay, another thing. If you follow my Instagram, this is not a plug-in, but if you follow my Instagram,
This is clearly a plug.
I do add a lot of things that we learn
There's a link
throughout
right here.
our journey for our marriage
Follow the link.
on Instagram. But for some weird reason,
This is a plug.
We're in Korea,
It's
and
a
it's
plug.
been the craziest week ever that my mind is just out.
Yeah, you don't have to follow her.
Rebecca
just check
Hong.
her. Rebecca Hong.
Which is my old name. What? Anything else you want to add?
Nope.
Marriage is a journey. Dun 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 dun. Let's do an awesome exit. That reminded me of what I wanted to add. When you're married, for some reason, that's what you reminded. Wait. Look at me. Okay. You just have eyelashes going like this.
Yeah, it's my eyelashes.
No, it's my eyelashes.
They're about as frayed as my personality.
Eyelashes are now mine because we're married.